If menopause has you not feeling like yourself, you're not alone. For thousands of years, women ate according to their body's needs. Customized herbal formulas were prepared for them, and energy medicine, well, it saved them better than anything else you've seen on the internet. I'm talking about natural solutions that support your body instead of fighting it. Now, I want you to avoid the manipulative marketing about natural approach to menopause and understand this, that a shift in simple choices you make daily can really help you regain balance and feel like yourself again, absolutely naturally. I've been living this way for years, and it is possible to be symptom-free. This topic is deeply personal to me because women in this phase of life are so often underserved. And the mainstream conversation tends to focus on synthetic solutions, while the natural options, many of which have been around for centuries, are rarely acknowledged or accessible. Now, I've spent the last 15 years traveling the world, refining my practice and speaking to hundreds of people about Eastern medicine. And despite the growing body of research and published journals supporting these practices, they're still not integrated into modern healthcare. This topic is deeply personal to me because women in this phase of life are so often underserved. And the mainstream conversation tends to focus on synthetic solutions, while the natural options, many of which have been around for centuries, are rarely acknowledged or accessible. Now, I've spent the last 15 years traveling the world, refining my practice and speaking to hundreds of people about Eastern medicine. And despite the growing body of research and published journals supporting these practices, they're still not integrated into modern healthcare. This topic is deeply personal to me because women in this phase of life are so often underserved. And the mainstream conversation tends to focus on synthetic solutions, while the natural options, many of which have been around for centuries, are rarely acknowledged or accessible. Now, I've spent the last 15 years traveling the world, refining my practice and speaking to hundreds of people about Eastern medicine. And despite the growing body of research and published journals supporting these practices, they're still not integrated into modern healthcare. This topic is deeply personal to me because women in this phase of life are so often underserved. And the mainstream conversation tends to focus on synthetic solutions, while the natural options, many of which have been around for centuries, are rarely acknowledged or accessible. Now, I've spent the last 15 years traveling the world, refining my practice and speaking to hundreds of people about Eastern medicine. And despite the growing body of research and published journals supporting these practices, they're still not integrated into modern healthcare. This topic is deeply personal to me because women in this phase of life are so often underserved. And the mainstream conversation tends to focus on synthetic solutions, while the natural options, many of which have been around for centuries, are rarely acknowledged or accessible. Now, I've spent the last 15 years traveling the world, refining my practice and speaking to hundreds of people about Eastern medicine. And despite the growing body of research and published journals supporting these practices, they're still not integrated into modern healthcare. And maybe they never will be. But what matters most is that I too was once where you are now, searching for a natural approach, wanting to understand my body on a conscious and intuitive level. And this takes time. That's why we're here. As a doctor of East Asian medicine and health science, I bring together hypnotherapy and acupuncture, food therapy and herbal formulation, as well as energy medicine and neuro-emotional techniques to help support your journey. My mission is to help you reconnect with your own inner wisdom so you can make powerful, informed decisions for your health, rooted in truth and not trends. In this video, you will understand a different way to navigate menopause and one that completely honors your body instead of trying to fix it. First, we're going to reframe menopause not as a hormonal deficiency, but as a sacred transition rooted in East Asian medicine. Then we will explore why your doctor probably never mentioned natural solutions, highlighting the limitations of Western medicine when it comes to energy, food therapy, and emotional wellness. And then I'll break down the 3 core patterns behind most menopausal symptoms like kidney yin and yang and Qi deficiency, so you can finally understand what your body is really telling you. Then after that, I'll share the holistic solution. Eastern modalities holds its own against HRT. There was a study that was published in about menopause, and it found that combining herbal formulas with acupuncture was just as effective as hormone therapy in treating menopause-related symptoms. What does this mean? It means that you can pretty much ditch the synthetic hormones and still kick those hot flashes to the curb, especially if the side effects from HRT are causing more problems than you would like. So if you're thinking that you have to do several treatments or it's just not accessible, remember that it's a combination of treatment and home care that is customized. Herbal formulas, auricular therapy, a variety of things. Research highlighted in the British Medical Journal that standardized acupuncture, meaning TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, because there are hundreds of ways to treat the body with acupuncture, by the way, led to fast, clinically relevant reduction in moderate to severe menopausal symptoms within just 6 weeks. That is just acupuncture alone, not including any home care practices like herbal formulation, auricular therapy, nutritional shifts or lifestyle changes, detoxifications to eliminate any potential toxic load that the body may be holding onto. And then there was a systematic review that happened in Mauritius that revealed that Chinese herbal medicines were significantly more effective than placebo in reducing the frequency of hot flashes. So while HRT showed a higher efficacy, the natural route, it still made a notable impact without the baggage of synthetic hormones. But let me clarify that your pattern is different from everyone else who is prescribed the same HRT therapy. Your pattern is always changing as your body goes through these shifts, and it should. This is why HRT works well for some and not so well for others, and this is why natural methods should be incorporated much earlier in this cycle. And if we incorporate these treatments much later, then the pattern will be different, of course, or have more layers to peel back. And that's when techniques like neuro-emotional techniques, which are also home care practices that can help shift the brain's neural pathways. In our medical system, menopause is often treated like a hormonal deficiency that needs to be fixed. But in reality, it is simply a natural transition and a shift in energy that occurs when a woman moves from her most reproductive years into a stage of just deeper wisdom and self-reflection. It's not about estrogen loss. It's about a decline in kidney energy, your Jing, your Yin, and your Yang energy, which affect the entire body. Now, I get that this sounds very foreign and that this is really not the video to convince you on that, but deeper explanation on the duality of life is explained by many scholars and ancient texts that are available at some bookstores and definitely through continuing education classes for Eastern medicine practitioners. At the end of the day, it's about getting to the root cause so that balance is restored in the most authentic way without negatively manipulating the integrity of your mind, your body, and your spirit. But by positively doing that through herbal medicine, food therapy, lifestyle shifts. So let's break down exactly how you can do that. Everything is energy. Your organs process emotions into a frequency. Your emotions are energy in motion. Your hormones receive signals from the rest of your body, and the quality of your sleep, believe it or not, it's a frequency. And your digestion, well, it has trillions of neurotransmitters that travel throughout the body on a physical and etheric level. And everything is a part of an ecosystem. So treating just one system or one part doesn't really make sense. Now, I get that when you see a TCM practitioner, he puts a needle in your hand and tells you that it's for the headache. That doesn't make sense either. But the simple explanation is this. When the ecosystem is stressed by poor sleep, toxic environment, unprocessed emotions, overwork, your body creates a pattern to try and stay balanced. And microsystems like the one in your hands have points that send signals and frequencies to the brain and throughout the entire system in the body to regulate your blood pressure. And symptoms produced by the vasomotor and certain herbs that have a direct function with the organ system through an energy exchange that happens through metabolism and the metabolic process. Those patterns you experience, they show up as symptoms. They're not random, they're not broken. They are simply messages and patterns. And during perimenopause, three major patterns tend to show up consistently. The kidney Yin deficiency, think heat rising, dryness, insomnia, night sweats, hot flashes, and anxiety. This oftentimes shows up in women who've been overgiving, overworking, and not replenishing themselves. It's like your inner well is running dry. And then there's kidney Yang deficiency. Think cold hands and feet, low libido, weight gain, and chronic fatigue. These are women who have been undersupported, often in survival mode. Your inner fire is dimming. And then there's kidney Qi deficiency, when your brain fog kicks in, digestion, low energy, and frequent urination have an issue. This is when your body's foundation has been drained from chronic stress, emotional suppression, or simply by pushing through for far too long. Any of these sound familiar? They're not just symptoms, they're patterns, identified through your tongue, your Chinese pulse, asking questions, and through observation. Your body is communicating to you through patterns. And let's be real, most doctors in the West are trained to see symptoms as isolated problems, and their scope is limited to prescriptions and procedures and protocols that are based on studies and research. But the truth is, even our environment is always changing, and the level of stress in our lives is changing, and we're evolving. And the way that we were treated years ago, the way that ethnic groups are treated for similar symptoms is not the same from one person to the next. In fact, most doctors won't even talk about energy or make the recommendation to investigate holistic options because it's just not their scope of practice. And well, that just shows you how disconnected we are from nature. But the added layer of emotional or spiritual meaning behind what's showing up in your body and how to process that has evolved too. Now, for obvious reasons, I don't need to mention here, but discernment, personal research, and aligning with a variety of professionals is where you will win in health and in this cycle of life. It's kind of like taking your car to the dealership to get maintenance. They tell you what's wrong with your car, how much it's going to cost, and then they hand you a bill. For me, I want to see a video. I want someone to sit down and explain to me what's happening and why is my car giving me trouble so I can prevent the problems from happening again, if I can. So it's a shame that anything that can't be measured in a lab often gets labeled as woo-woo. But that's exactly why Asian medicine and its understanding of energy has survived for thousands of years, simply because it works. You were created from the same carbon matter that makes herbs and plants that we eat. Picture this. A woman in her mid-40s. She's a career powerhouse, a mom, or maybe both. She's been juggling deadlines, family drama, and everything else in between. She's exhausted, she can't sleep, her joints ache, especially in the morning. Her libido, she doesn't have one, and she's told it's just menopause. Here's a pill. Deep down inside, she knows it's something more. but she hasn't had space to process the grief, the overwhelm, the resentment, the anger. Her body's been running on empty. Her spirit is low and everything is just catching up. Her emotions, her thoughts, and feelings. Not to punish her, but to wake her up. So if you're tired of being dismissed and unsure of what your body is asking of, let's change that. In the description of this video, I've left a link where you can book your one-on-one consultation. Together, you and I will explore your unique symptoms, your lifestyle, and your energetic patterns. You'll receive a clear, holistic understanding and guidance based on the time-tested principles to help you feel like yourself again. This is literally your season to feel empowered, informed, and supported and not silenced. And you don't need to figure this out alone. You're not broken. You're becoming, and you deserve to do it with clarity and grace. So here's the good news. These patterns, they can totally be transformed through a variety of methods. Herbal medicines to nourish what's depleted and to cool what's inflamed, for example, through acupuncture and acupressure to restore flow and balance and create an internal system that works for you. And even through food therapy by building support for your digestion and lifestyle shifts that help you rest, reconnect, and restore yourself internally. You don't need a prescription to come home to your body. And if you want to learn more, I recommend that you check out my playlist on superfoods and women's health, where I go into holistic methods that most doctors never mention, simply because they weren't trained to. What your body is asking for may not be your doctor's scope, but it's in yours.